so you know.
What's
Um,
your average like? What's your average like stream count?
Not a ton right now. Looking somewhere between like live viewers, only like 10 maybe, and then the amount of viewers after the fact have been going up, like trending into the hundreds. I only did the first video for this like a month and a half ago or something. And so it's just been taking time, I think. And yeah, I don't know, but I thought talking to you would be interesting, especially since we have a lot of kind of political views that would align, and you're actually doing something interesting, which is nice to see, you know.
Yep, I agree.
All right, so let me do my intro, and then we'll get right into it. Hello, welcome everybody. This is A New Crusade. Today we're going to be talking with a local California resident who is has some gubernatorial, governmental, and governor aspirations. This is Kyle Langford. He's going to be running for, or he is currently running for governor of California. So Kyle, I guess right to get into it, for anyone who doesn't know, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I was like born and raised here in California. I went to a Christian school growing up. It wasn't a Catholic school, but it was a Christian school, and they taught pretty strict morals. And I read the Bible cover to cover growing up, so really grew up with really strong foundations. And yeah, both my parents went to college and graduated, so education was always super important to me growing up. And then when I was like 15, I moved to Oregon, and I was there for uh, for like 7 years before moving back here. And I went to high school and college in Oregon, and then I did hard labor, and then I moved down here and got a really nice construction management job, and I've been doing that, and the job is allows for flexibility for me to pursue other hobbies, and for me to really, I guess, like study or travel or pursue hobbies outside of work. So it's pretty nice like that, and yeah, and I've been interested in politics my whole life, ever since I was 6 years old. I knew that was my calling, and so I'm really excited to be able to now, fuse that strong like Christian upbringing, um, and then with my love and passion for politics that I've really been studying my whole life. And I even got like obviously a Stanford Law School jacket. I took some classes there a few years back, so I am pretty plugged in, and I think yeah, I'm super excited right now. I'm loving life right now.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Um, so what did you where did you go to university?
University of Oregon.
University of Oregon. Okay, nice. What did you get your degree in?
So I didn't graduate. Um, I left because of COVID. Everything went online, and it was hard for me to justify um, paying thousands of dollars for online classes. Um, and Yeah, so I went to work, and then I did community college at the same time, but I did have to do a lot of self study to like not fall behind. And I was grateful that when I went to when I was there at U of O, I took really advanced math and science classes. So as far as like the rigorous STEM classes go, that's where I focused when I was there, and prioritized that. So I wish I could have gone longer, but I do rigorous study on my own, so I don't feel like I've fallen behind per se.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Yeah, I feel you. I went to university during COVID too, and I ended up going to a state school that was really close to me, and so my tuition was really low, so it wasn't too much of a struggle for that. But I think that there's lots of schools where if you're not getting one-on-one interaction with professors and stuff like that, what are you paying all the money for? So that totally makes sense.
Yeah, it's true, and yeah, I guess like to pivot um, like when it comes to like because I know your show is like a very Catholic show, right? new
Yeah,
perspective.
Catholic and politics are the main two interests.
Nice. Yeah. So my I have like I don't like talk about it very often, but I do have like a girlfriend that lives up in Oregon. So she doesn't like we don't I don't see her super often, but she's the one that brought me to like the Catholic faith and all that. And yeah, and yeah, I she first took me to mass like about like 4 years ago or so, and and I was just really struck by the energy and the passion, and I loved how disciplined everything was, and yeah, and just I really immediately recognized the truth in it.
Had you previously been baptized?
Yeah, I was baptized as a kid, so
Okay, nice. And then when were you confirmed?
confirmed in 2021.
That's awesome. That's super cool.
Yeah, so that's a huge gap because um, yeah, because my parent, my like, yeah, it just, I had a very like secular upbringing overall. Like, even though I went to a Christian school, um, so that's why there was like kind of like that gap, and yeah, and it was really when I, my girlfriend started taking me to mass and stuff that I really like plugged in. So
That's excellent. I'm really glad to hear that.
yeah.
So between leaving school and starting work, kind of at what point did you decide you specifically were interested in California politics and specifically in running for something big right away like the governor?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say, well, I guess if the month would be like August 2023 would be when I really started focusing and studying. Um, and I actually founded like a men's club in 2023 called the Bay Area Men's Network. And yeah, and I held like weekly meetings, and we would go out and like have fun on like Friday, Saturday nights. And I started like I try to start like a similar thing in Portland with like a smaller group of friends. But yeah, but I started that, and so I guess just through my little like men's club I started and I had going in 2023, that I guess that the networking aspect of it made me think like, well, if I'm learning how to network, then like, maybe I think it would be beneficial for me to like try to get into politics. So
Yeah.
I had a passion for it, and also when
Hmm.
it comes to politics, like because you said California politics, but politics in general. One thing that's really unique about me is I've been to all 50 states of the U.S. So when it comes to like what is the spirit of America, I feel like I have a unique, I feel like I have a pretty broad understanding of what that truly means. Um, and and yeah, and I was very involved in politics when I was like, um, I guess I would say like in Oregon politics when from like age like 16 to like 21 or so. I met the governor, Kate Brown, a few times. I even was at a Tina Kotek event when she launched her campaign, um, because I guess I would say like I was like pretty like Democrat friendly for a long time.
Hmm.
Not from like an I mean that's just kind of the that was just kind of the nature of Oregon politics, but it wasn't because I it's just so different like thinking about like the way that like the Democrat Party was in the 2010s, because they did seem to stand a little bit more for rationalism, for acceptance, for like freedom. And so like I feel like they stood for completely different things back then than they kind of do today. And so it was like a different time, um but yeah, but I was very involved in Democrat politics, and I think that's why I care a lot about the environment.
Hmm.
Because I would say like three of the pillars that I'm running on is so like I guess like in like I have like secular and I guess like non-secular ways of describing it, which the secular terms are like unity, sustainability, and well, hold on, let me see if I can, I have it in my notes right here.
Yeah, no problem. Uh-oh. Well, he froze for a second, so let's see. Hopefully we can regain. Mr. Friendly Clips is right here. Hello, Friendly Clips. Our good friend Kyle Kyle, just if you can hear me, your camera froze. So it's just me right now. Everyone, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe if you're here right now. If you're on X, you can feel free to move on over to YouTube. I've heard that the viewing experience is generally better on YouTube. And so that might be useful. Hopefully, whatever issue we have right now will get resolved quickly. Apologies to anyone. No, I think it just went out for a second.
Back.
There we go. Okay, no problem.
Yeah, it went out. Yeah, because I just wanted to check my notes, but yeah, unity, sustainability, and safety. So those are like my three tagline, and I was coming up with that yesterday when I went to visit the students at Stanford.
Mhm.
I really did go there to like sniff out a lot of my um, like campaign messaging and a lot of the important issues because they're really smart people there, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, and those are the three that I came up with. So unity, for one, I see like Christianity, specifically like the Catholic Church, as I think that should and must be like the unifying factor. Because if you think about it, any other any other kind of factor which is going to be used to attempt to unify people is going to be really subjective. You know, like you can't really unify around racial purity. You know, because like the truth is that like everyone is some degree of like mix. You know, like that's just the truth. And
Especially here in the Southwest.
exactly, yeah. So it's like you can't unify on that, you know. So it's like, and it's hard to unify in California on like national origin because a lot of people are immigrants or they identify with other places, you know. So it's like, okay, so if we really want to unify, we really want to, because the reason why I want to unify is because I want us to build big projects together. I want us to have that high trust society that we once had, and I want us to, you know, to feel comfortable talking to each other and feel safe where you're living, you know. So, um,
Mhm.
so that's why I feel that unity. I don't just say that as a tagline. I say it as something that I think is actually important, you know. Um, so that's number one. And the reason why we need unity is if we want to build like a nuclear reactor, or we want to build high speed rail, or we want to build like this futuristic futuristic firefighting network using helicopters, which I think is the future of firefighting, instant firefighting with drones and such. Um, if we want to do these projects, we have to unify. We can't. We also have to be pro-human too, but we have to unify. We can't allow these like uh, there to be a lot of hatred amongst groups unnecessarily. You know, so that's why it's important. Is it's really important for completion of large projects uh, that matter. And second is sustainability. So sustainability, I think, is really key, and that's what I hope, because the reason why sustainability is important is because California right now is a very rich state, right?
Yeah.
But what what results can we honestly see from it? You know, like, do we have the nicest roads? Do we have the best air transportation network? You know, like, is our agriculture the best in the world? Did you know that Salinas like is actually like has it's like one of the most like unhealthy places in the U.S. for agriculture because they use a lot of like raw manure and stuff, and they have high rated E. coli. So I'm saying that for all the money we have, for all the great companies we've built, and for all the value we've added to society, what do we have to show for it? You know, And so that's why I feel like sustainability is key, because what sustainability is holding these companies accountable for investing in California and for building a California that people want to live in long term. Because I don't want to see California as being used as an economic zone. I want it to be a long term place where people come, and maybe they come with great ideas. I do believe in immigration restriction, but just but if you come here, I want you to be a Californian. If I don't want you to bounce in one generation, you know, I don't want you to just come here, exploit our people and our resources, and then leave. You know, if you move to California, you're joining a community, you're joining a neighborhood, and like and for the people here, I want life to improve for them. Like I want people to think about California as a permanent place, and that's why my tagline that's on the front page of my website and on the back of my business card is California today, California tomorrow, California forever. For me, that's not just a tagline. That means you live in California today and you enjoy it. And we have great entertainment, we have great beaches, there's a lot of fun to do. You're going to be here, California tomorrow, meaning like the roads are going to be nice. We're going to have cheap gas and food, you know. Like we got to think about tomorrow as far as like resources go. Do we have enough resources to sustain tomorrow? But then California forever means that we think about things like planting trees, like conserving water resources, like building nuclear reactors or long term energy resources, or long
Mhm.
term sustainability, housing sustainability, all of these things, and also population sustainability as well. Which is like we have like immigration targets, keeping it either targeted low or at a certain targeted rate, but everything is targeted and precise, and we're not doing things by accident. And that's what I mean by today, tomorrow, forever, is that like we're really thinking about California as a place which is going to last, which is going to be great today and it's going to be last forever. If we have that last forever mentality, I think we're going to make much better decisions and people will be much happier because they're valued as like being Californians. They're a people with a land, and we're improving that land. And I think that's why people get frustrated is because people get frustrated because there's the money in the Bay Area, there's the money in the LA, but where are the results?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that you would be hard pressed to talk to anyone reasonable and have them tell you that they feel like the current administration running the state is really thinking at all for the future. It really from my perspective, it feels like like they just kind of chase trends to get good headlines, and so it's if one thing is popular, it moves to that. You get a lot of stuff like on the sustainability thing. It seems like there's this love for green energy and for electric cars, but then their solution is just we're going to make it illegal for you to buy a gas car. Like that seems like a poor solution to me. And it seems instead of kind of incentivizing good behavior, they just want to crack down and punish people. And then separately from an optics perspective, I think that it doesn't feel like the current government is there for the people. It feels like with the people being like, these are just random things, kind of my general thoughts, people being let out of prisons, other similar things like that, right? Like it feels like it's just trying to get good headlines, and it's not looking out for kind of like the average American person.
Yeah. And actually, the let out of prison, you actually brought up a good point. I actually have a great message for like what they would consider themselves to be like the black community. And here's my message to them is that I feel like, especially in LA and Oakland, these crime statistics are being manipulated by false virtue, where they're like, we have these criminals in prison, they are likely to be repeat offenders, so let's let them out. So they artificially boost the crime rates, you know. So let's not create good jobs. Let's not move in a positive direction. Let's just let out the worst of your community to go commit these crimes. And so then that's where a lot of these negative stereotypes proliferate. is because they're letting these people out. They're saying they're doing it for social justice, but what they're really doing is they're really like they're like if I was like a black person, like I would want the worst of my community locked up and out of sight, because if you take it's about taking pride in who you are and like wanting your people to like be like the best. And you don't want someone who badly represents your community to be like let out and committing crimes and reinforcing negative stereotypes, you know. And so that's why I would keep the bad offenders in. I would have these tough prison sentences. And like I said in a video that blew up really well, is I would want to make the prison system nicer, you know, make it to where you're able to work, you're able to study, you're going to be off and away from other people because that's the punishment for your crime. But you're going to be productive and you're going to be paying back your debt to society, and your brain is not going to be rotting. A lot of what people do in medicine, in a lot of what people do in prison, is they sit in a cell all day. They take as many medications as they can, and then they just complain and whine, and that's a lot of what goes on. And I don't think that's right. I think that, and also Californians voted no on Prop 6, and they also voted yes on Prop 36. So these are two clear indications that a strict crackdown on crime and the use of labor in the prison system is popular amongst Californians, what they want and expect. So,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've seen just from an anecdotal perspective, it seems to me, especially with the fire issues we have, that those prisoners who go and fight the fires, for many of them, that it is a very positive chance that they get, one, to just to leave the building and be outside. Two, I know a lot of times they use that work to lighten up sentences or to do other things like that, and just to help their to go and just kind of help the communities that they're a part of, or to just find a kind of a good virtuous way to spend your time. And I think that it's clear that people I think that most people don't want the criminals on the streets, but most people are okay with giving them chances to improve themselves, for lack of a better term.
yeah, yeah, especially if it's over a long period of time, it depends on the crime. Like I'm also in favor of bringing back capital punishment as a deterrent.
Mhm.
You're a murderer, or you commit like serious capital offense crimes, like there actually does need to be the death penalty as a deterrent, because I believe that the death penalty for especially murderers, because that's the most cut and dry, is a deterrent. It will save lives, you know, because if you murder somebody in cold blood, like you forfeited your right to life. I feel like is by taking another, but you can save them by having that capital punishment, and that way any potential criminals know that the government is serious. That you're not think about it now in California, because Gavin Newsom is vehemently against the death penalty. If there's someone that you really hate or harbor resentment towards, the thought in your mind is the worst thing that can happen to me is I go to prison for life. You know, I want to change that to mentality to the worst thing that can happen to me is I'm gonna get like a lethal injection or something. Like life is gonna end. Like you need to know that. And yeah, and I also just want to see the crime rate drop to like near zero, because I want us to be productive, and accomplishing wonders. I don't want us to be like chasing this bottom, you know. I want us to get off of this bottom mentality, because I also want to develop the mentality in California of having really nice things, because I've been to Palo Alto and like near Stanford and Beverly Hills, which I would consider to be two of the nicest places in California. I'm sure there's other nice places too, but the roads are bad. There's trash on the streets, and it doesn't look very futuristic. And these are supposed to be our absolute nicest places where we're supposed to have billionaires drive here in their Rolls Royces, their Porsches, their their Lamborghinis, whatever. We're supposed to have billionaires drive here and be impressed. They're not impressed right now. You know, because part of it is about it's about your competition mentality. Who's California competing with? I want us to compete with Dubai. I want us to compete with Hong Kong. I want us to compete with these other elite places because I want certain areas of California to be elite. Now, certain areas like Redding, Fresno, um, I would even say maybe like Bakersfield. These are known rural areas, and they should be allowed to be rural. But the city areas, I want to be nice and compete with these other, developing economies that are really kicking our butts. And I want us to have some places that are impressive because right now I don't really feel like we have it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you do see that when there was the Chinese government was coming over into what was it, San Francisco, that everything was cleaned up, right? Which really just makes it feel like this state that we have to live in as residents is optional. That the people in charge are just kind of choosing to let you sit there in the filth, and that they have the opportunity to help you, and they're just not interested.
Yeah. Well, what I want to so I'm pretty excited because I feel like I've called a lot of attention to this like homelessness issue, and I mean loud attention. Everyone's calling attention to it, but I feel like I called loud attention to it because last week, Gavin Newsom introduced like one of the most aggressive bills to combat homelessness, and by opening up federal land where I do believe that he plans on shipping off some of these homeless people who have nowhere to go and are just like on the streets. Um, so he said he's using state lands to develop like rapidly built he called it affordable housing, but I would just call it a camp, which is what it is.
Mhm.
And I'd want to have these places, and it's very important that these places are well known because I don't want people to see these people just sleeping on the streets, clearly with their brain is fried. I want people to know if you see that person, you call the police, and we're going to get them on a train or we're going to get them on a bus or something to this location, this known location, and that's where they're going to go. And if you want to see, you can drive there and you can see how we're being productive with these people, how we're rehabilitate them, how we're giving them a place to stay. It's not going to be nice. It's not going to be a walk in the park. But if you've lost everything, the current solution is to give you fentanyl as quickly as possible. You know, that's the
Mhm.
truth. That's the truth. And they're using basically like the felony to streets to fentanyl system of getting rid of these people. You know, but the problem is that's not valuing their humanity. You know, I don't want these people in our like terrorizing our citizens or sleeping in the streets, but I want there to be a remote camp that's maybe 40 miles outside the city where these people can go and where they can be rehabilitated, if possible, or just be kept out away from everyone else. But the important part is that they're kept away and they're not being treated like animals. They have a chance at rehabilitation, you know. Yeah, because I think everyone would be, it's a win win that way.
Yeah, I think that one thing that a lot of people who from like what you'd maybe call like a pro homelessness, I would maybe call it like a anti consequences perspective. They tend to think, well, oh, arresting these homeless people, making them move somewhere, whether that be actually putting them in jail, depending on the case, or putting them somewhere like a camp or a forced rehabilitation or something. They say, oh, well, that's, you're taking away their rights, you're doing this, you're doing that. I think that ultimately you have to do what's best for them and in the best interest of them, and allowing them to overdose on fentanyl and then get shot up with Narcan for free by an EMT, and then next week overdose on fentanyl and then get more Narcan from an EMT, and they're constantly just out on the streets, just coming back to life, dying and coming back to life on a regular basis. You're doing these people a disservice by allowing them to do this, and you're actually only helping them, and you're only treating them like they're more dignified, and like you're only treating them better by taking them away from what they're using to harm themselves. If someone is cutting themselves, you don't leave them with a knife in a room. You take the knife away. You remove them from that situation.
Yeah, you just explained my point perfectly.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, definitely a point of agreement. One thing I think that is probably at the top of a lot of people's minds, maybe it's just at the top of my mind, are your general thoughts as far as immigration numbers? I know that that was something that Trump was running on. It's something where the state of California currently seems to kind of be not in agreement with Donald Trump on. And a lot of people have also, and I'm one of them, have been kind of disappointed by the numbers that Trump's put forward after making a lot of his claims. And so in California, which is a relatively uniquely complicated situation due to, like most of the Southwest is, due to kind of the naturally diverse ethnic makeup of the state. What are your thoughts as far as where you'd like to push immigration, whether that be up or down or any specific way?
Yeah, I mean, definitely down. I would just care about economic and price stability, food stability, resource stability. Um, but yeah, definitely, proceed with the deportations that are at a rapid rate. And here's the reason why. Is because these people did come in here illegally. They don't have proper documentation. They know what they did, and 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 they need to be treated humanely. I do agree with that, but they need to leave. And the reason is because I'm not completely against apartments being empty. I'm not completely against there being jobs vacant because that just creates opportunity for the citizens that are here legally. And part of the reason why our birth rate is so low is because the population is being artificially boosted by fully grown adult immigrants, and so people have kids when they see a gap. When they're like, there's opportunity, there's jobs, like when they feel like that they're stable. You know, and so if there's all these jobs, opportunities, new industries opening up for citizens, I think things will really improve. And so, absolutely, I mean, I'm 100% pro deportations, pro immigration restriction, but I just don't want it to harm Californians economically. And so that'd be the number one factor. And so whether we got to put in temporary subsidies to make sure that that doesn't happen, so that we can fill in the worker gaps. Um, I'm not even completely opposed to trying to bring in maybe workers from other states to try and speed up the rate. But I do think that right now in the job market, I think the job market actually is a very tough job market. All the data that I've been seeing is it's very difficult to get jobs, and so just telling Californians, hey, look, this field work, it's going to start paying better now because everything is over the table. You know, we're not paying cash for these positions. We're not undercutting the minimum wage. You're a citizen. You have rights. All that. You're going to form a community. Like, make these jobs that these illegal immigrants fill, make them nice, make them respected, and that's one of the key things that I think is going to make me unique is that I'm going to be highly respectful of everyone working in every position. From the janitors to the field workers to the oil workers to all the workers that are like doing the hard labor. I'm really going to elevate them and respect them because I was one of them. If you look at my LinkedIn, I come from a hard labor background. You know, I know what it's like to work in dangerous environments and get physical. So I feel like I'm going to energize this physical working class because I was one of them, and show them respect and all that, and try to improve their conditions, not just by like government spending, but by um, restoring a sense of pride in their work. Because if these workers that are doing the physical labor are proud of who they are, they're proud of where they work, if they take pride in that, then they're going to pick up the trash. They're going to care about whether their like streets are clean. They're going to request certain maintenances when they're past due. You know, they're gonna do the yard work on their houses. They're gonna paint the homes. They're gonna keep things nice because they're gonna have pride in who they are. You know, if you feel disrespected, that's where you might get disorganized or allow things to fall out of disrepair. You know, I do think that
Yeah.
religion play an important part in that, but I think that life will drastically improve for the working class when they become Catholics, when they become Christians, That's going to instill in them a sense of morality, pride, and in the Holy Spirit. That's important. And yeah, and then they're going to start improving all sorts of things. So you can improve life for people without money, because religion is also important too. And I just believe that things are going to get drastically better for the working class because of because of a lot of pride and religious factors.
Yeah. And then I'll touch on, since you brought it up, we'll touch on the Catholicism. Then I have one more topic I want to ask you about, and then we'll open it up for anyone who has any questions. So if anyone has any questions, somewhat serious, somewhat joking, I guess, as long as they're respectful, feel free to drop them in the chat and I can give your questions to Kyle. So on the Catholicism point, you obviously are not ashamed at all of being a Catholic. You, unlike many, popular public figures and especially politicians, don't seem to really be using it just as a tool for votes. So what do you think kind of sets you apart from you as a Catholic candidate, just in general, versus other people who aren't? And specifically, also, what would set you apart from other Catholic candidates who maybe some people might feel are using it more as just kind of a ploy to kind of farm votes from Catholics with loyalty?
Um, well, like I was saying, well, first off, it's the truth for one. It is the true church. It is the true church, and and I believe in the Eucharist and the Rosary and all that. Um, and so, um, and so for one, it's the truth. For two, it's just it is what we need. It is what's missing. It's what we've been ignoring. You know, um, that spiritual element because if you don't have a deep conviction in God or Jesus Christ or the Holy Spirit, then what are you doing behind closed doors? What are you doing when no one's watching? You know, um, it's that morality that's really important. Um, that fulfillment. It's that believing in a higher power. This is deeply important, and it's really what we've been missing. And I think everybody knows it. It's just not enough people have. But just you watch. You might think that I'm extreme now. For really just being unapologetic that California needs to become like a Christian Catholic state, but because the truth is on our side, other people are going to start bandwagoning, and then you will see people jump in who are just using it to farm votes. Right now I'm coming on with the hard edge, and people are like, "Whoa, like what's going on there?" But you will see true bandwagoners come in who are bad faith actors because they know that it's the right thing to do, and I'm prepared for that as well. I'm prepared for people to steal all my ideas, to try to completely rip me off. I'm totally prepared for that because when you say true things, have you ever heard the saying um, like you can bounce from lie to lie, but once you hear the truth, there's no going back. You ever heard that saying before, or something like that?
I don't think I have, but yeah, that makes sense.
So it's like when I say true things, which basically is that I want like Christian eco nationalism, like that's basically how I would describe my beliefs. That is, I feel like, the correct opinion. That's the correct like political philosophy. And so like anyone who tries to deviate from that is just going to get crushed because I've come up with the true position. I've come up with the correct position. Everything else is incorrect. So, like I said, other people are going to bandwagon. They are going to farm votes, but I'm saying it because it's true.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, for the last topic that I personally wanted to bring up, something that's brought a lot of controversy across the nation, and as the public education system kind of doesn't seem to be improving at all over time, it seems like the outcomes just continue to get worse as the bill continues to get bigger. One of the most controversial, yet from my perspective, seemingly easy solutions would be something like school choice. I'm curious what your personal opinion is on that specifically, as well as what your thoughts are on addressing just the education crisis within America as well, or so obviously within California.
Yeah. Um, I do see I see school choice and kind of increasing the charter school system as like a band-aid, but I see the real remedy, the real medicine, as being immigration restriction. Because when companies are looking to hire people, you know, um, like what's the immigration restriction cause? It's going to cause immediately certain trade schools or companies are going to start training their workers, because they're going to be like, oh shoot, we can't just hire out for this. They can't just come up from Mexico. We can't just import from overseas. So we got to actually train these people, and that's what a lot of young people complain about, is that there's not a lot of training at these jobs. So they're basically forced to either start, basically like they either got to lie on their resume, you know, or go through some type of college or university for it, or or just like I guess train themselves, but it's not institutionalized. And so I believe that if companies kind of are like, look, Californians are who you've got. This is who you got to hire, and you got to work with these people. Don't look outside for other options. You got to these Californians. These are your people, and so that's it's not uh, like I said, that's the cure. Ranked choice voting, and I think propping up these like temporary trade schools or vocational schools. Um, I think that's a band aid, but I think immigration restriction is the long term solution. Solution, as far as solution.
Yeah. So that makes sense. So in the between, assuming you win, right? Like what would be maybe 1 to 3 of your kind of day one or week one, or very like what are some of the, from a specific policy specific
Yeah,
perspective, have you gotten to the point where you've really thought, these are 2 or 3 things that I'm really going to immediately hammer on?
yeah. Well, I would. I mean, I would definitely have a review of the certain classes that are being taught. Any kind of programs, make sure that every single one of them is translatable to a job in the future, and really just have a jobs focused education system. Um, Obviously, I think that basically there's like two purposes tied to education. There's getting a job in the future and building the economy of the future, and then there's forming a unique local state identity. Like for example, in California, you learn about California history in fourth grade. You know, um, so that's important in forming your unique Californian identity. And we learn about American history to form an American identity. So it's like about getting a job in the future and forming a unique localized identity. And we really just got to think about it in terms of those two, and really just kind of weigh like, weigh the importance of, think about it in that kind of binary sense, and try to cut out a lot of these a lot of what's not going to help young people get jobs, because that's what I care about. I don't want someone to graduate from even the public schools, even from high school. I want them to graduate from high school and feel confident about getting a job. That they
Mhm.
were properly, and all that. And a lot of our a lot of our like trade schools or like welding classes or any physical labor, automotive, that's disappeared the last 20 years, because like I said, I work in like the construction industry, and these contractors talk all the time. They're about the programs that shut down about 6 years ago. The program shut down 6 years ago. They were disappearing the past 20, but within the past six, they've really just started to just shut down completely. Got to revitalize that. Um, and I just believe that working with your hands is fulfilling too. And so we just got to make sure that the economy is healthy enough to where working with your hands can pay a decent wage, where where AI is allowing people to do this physical work and it's empowering them, and really make sure that AI is working for the people, not replacing the people. And I haven't mentioned AI that much, but that is going to be a priority because I would consider myself an intelligent, obviously young, um, uh, person that is going to be able to understand the implications of AI. Is going to talk with these experts, is going to be able to understand their professional language and really understand the gravity of what this disruptive technology is going to do to Californians, to the American people, and to the people of the world, because the technology that comes out of California is highly consequential for everyone else.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, let's see. I guess I would put it out. There's not a ton of people in the chat, but if anyone wants to ask a question, you're welcome. If there's anything that you want to kind of speak on a little bit more, Kyle, feel free. If we don't have any questions going in, then I can give you some more time.
Yeah, I have.
But
How many people are in the chat? How many people are watching right now?
Well, it's hard because the way YouTube counts it, so YouTube only has 8 right now, so not a ton. But then the weird thing is because I stream it on X too, you might know that like an impression on X is not worth a lot because of how quickly they count it. And so it's weird because based on my it's saying there's 113 on my X account, but I don't think that there actually is. And like all the comments we're getting are specifically from YouTube, for example. What were you say?
Well, one question I had for you, because I've just been talking, and is I was just wondering, like, what parts of my campaign or what things that I've done so far have you liked? Like, what is interesting so far?
Yeah, I think for me as a Catholic, I appreciate the fact that you're unapologetic with that.
Yeah.
I think it feels like when I see Joe Biden claim to be Catholic and then constantly disagree with the church, it feels like he's just doing it to appeal to a demographic. Whether or not he actually thinks he is, maybe he's just that, ignorant that he thinks he's in a good place. And then separately from that, I would say like personally, my biggest focuses in like that would affect who I was interested in voting in would be immigration would probably be one of the biggest ones. I think crime would be one of the biggest ones. And then like education leading to jobs. So whether that be through, improving like high schools and all that kind of stuff and improving colleges and all of that. I went to obviously we have the UC system and then we also have the Cal State system. I went to a Cal State and the college was in a really poor area. And so, a ton of these kids, I want to say it's like 50 or 60% of them are all first generation students. And I personally felt like because of that, in a lot of ways, our education quality was really downgraded. And I think that for me, I was going there mainly so that I could graduate with no debt. And that was what was really important to me. And so it met my goals in that way. But from an actual educational perspective, I don't think there was a ton that it did for me as far as necessarily preparing me for what was going to be coming after. So that's kind of in some way where I feel like I'm sure there are lots of people like me who leave with a degree that they paid money for and don't necessarily see how that exactly translates. Part of it is the fact that, I got a general business degree, so that's on me for not getting, an accounting degree or maybe something that could be translated into a job field a little bit more easily. But those are my big ones. I think that as with time, I would imagine you'll start to develop a little bit more of a concrete plan for everything. And so getting to actually read your propositions will be good. But generally, I've been liking everything I've been hearing so far. And I feel like for someone who hasn't been going hard on it for too long, you have made a pretty good splash so far, and it's only going to keep building momentum.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like I was saying, like I'm gonna go back to Stanford on Saturday. I've got some now. I've actually scheduled some meetings with some people that I know there, and there's some professors that I'm associated with too. So I'll be meeting with some actual people, and really trying to get a like a I guess a high educated plan
Mhm.
together. You know,
Yeah.
um, and then after that, then I also have a list together of a bunch of politically active companies and organizations that donate every cycle, and so I'll be reaching out to them too. And then I'm also working with one of the candidates from the Oakland mayor's race. I'll be writing a really nice paper for her, giving like an unbiased report of why I think she's like the best candidate. Because ultimately, I chose her from semi-competitive field, and there's some reasons why I think she's the best. And I'm gonna probably publish like a 10-page report and offer her to send it to any donors that she wants because she's looking to raise $75,000 within the next month. That's her self-proclaimed fundraising goal. And so I'm going to write her this paper. I'm going to say, look, like I'm writing you this paper with endorsement and reasons, and I'm going to give pros and cons of of yourself, your background, and your campaign. Um, and that's one of the important things in my California First Pack that I want to do is I want to give really unbiased opinions of why people should vote for candidates, and I will put in there some negative things about each candidate. It's not going to be all glowing, you know. Um, but that's one of the things I hope to provide long-term value for is providing these reports and also slates as well, because I do want to put together voter guides so that way when elections roll around or when 2026 rolls around, I'm not just telling people to vote for me. I'm also telling them an entire list of people to vote for. And like, for example, one of the other slates in the state that is popular is for Reform California, which is created by Carl DeMaio, who I got like I've been interacting with him a little bit on the timeline and such, and I actually like him. He's actually a very smart guy, but he puts together a slate, and he's very biased towards Republicans, so he can't really claim to have a bipartisan, um, uh, slate, um, or really like, yeah. And he also nags about Democrats too often, and yeah, and so so it's that partisan politics that I think that a lot of people are really becoming tired of, especially when I talk to people like virtually every person I talk to. I'm not just talking about like I'm not even talking about a certain demographic. I'm talking about everyone is totally tired with partisan politics, and they're just ready. They're honestly, I mean, a lot of people are just like kind of scared because they just kind of feel like the government is totally disengaged, and that like these corporations are just kind of just completely running the show. That there's virtually no regulations, there's no protections for workers, that there's not even any law enforcement. That there's a lot of like anarchy. And so people have really been feeling like that the government is completely disconnected, Democrat and Republican, and they want an administration to get in there that's serious.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
yeah, and so that's some of the work I have planned, and I've got like one event in Oakland and one event in Stanford for next week, and then 2 weeks from Saturday, I'll be doing the CA GOP, which is that's going to be a really big event. I really hope to knock their socks off, and my GOP is basically that I am the candidate that they need if they want to win because I'm going to get. Also, I speak Spanish as well. Yeah, yo hablo mucho español, porque mi novia en el pasado, like, era una latina, like, con una familia mexicana. So, yo sé mucho español. Y con un poco más, más práctica, um, I will, I'll be better. But yeah, as you can tell from my little like 10 seconds, that I know a little, So I'm going to be able to get this the Spanish speaking vote, um, and the young vote, and the environmentalist vote, and the conservative vote, and the religious vote, and all that, So let's say like, look, if you guys pick me as your candidate, like it's going to be a breeze. If you're worried about winning the election, like you don't even need to sweat it. Like you got it in the bag. But if you don't pick me, then I'm going to be your worst nightmare. And I'm gonna make you guys lose. Do you watch the Nick show every night?
No, I don't. I've never watched it before. Honest, if I'm being completely honest, yeah. So I'm
Oh,
friends with a lot of people online, and so I'm like, I'd call myself an ally maybe, but it's not something I've ever tuned into.
you never tuned in. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, he's talked about like throwing out the idea of like endorsing and running like a third party candidate to like pull the votes to like almost like punish the GOP for not being conservative, for not being immigration restrictionist, for not being Christian, you know, for not standing up to any sort of conservatism, you know.
Mhm.
So he's talked about that before, and and as far as like running the Democrat goes, because I'm exploring a lot, I think the Democrat Party would be great as long as they're Christian, you know. That's the crux of the issue is that they got to be grounded in Catholic morality. But like a Catholic Democrat Party would be like pretty good, because they care about the environment, about holding corporations responsible, fair working class taxation, and all that. So they get a lot of things right, but morally they're bankrupt. They're,
Mhm.
they're morally bankrupt, but they get a lot right. And also a lot of Democrats are highly educated too, so they get a lot right, but they're just really missing that Catholic morality. And so that's why I'm really confident about the options coming up. And I just know that I have a lot of hands to shake, a lot of people to meet, a lot of emails to send, a lot of donor money to get to. But I'll never compromise when it comes to donor money. Like I would rather, because I need their money. You know, I can win without their money. I've already gotten some pretty good donations. Just from private individuals who really no strings attached. They just believe in me as a person. They like me. Um, so I'm like, I don't need your money. If you don't believe in me, and you don't believe in what I'm about, then I don't want it. Um, but and that's that. And you're going to waste your money trying to pit someone against me. And like I said, that's why unity is one of my core pillars. Is that I really do want to like try to unite the left and the right, the Democrats and the Republicans, and just say like, look, are we ready to end this fighting? Are we ready to put Californians first, care about humans? Because I care about their sons and daughters, their grandkids. It's like I'm fighting for a good future for the people in your family. Put aside this Democrat and Republican label, and let's just care about the children. Let's care about the youth. Let's watch out for AI and the massive disruption. Like, let's care about things that matter and put aside the things that don't.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that a lot of people are at the point to where, there's a couple reasons that would really bother me about ever voting. I mean, I'm at the point where I'm not even sure about voting every time, but there's a lot of specific things that would bother me about voting for Democrats, specifically from a Christian perspective. But honestly, like realistically, I think that if you are someone who thinks for yourself, you'd have a hard time not feeling like you're constantly getting screwed over no matter who you vote for. So I would think that most people who really think about what is being done by their government would realize that across the years, no matter who's in charge, things only marginally get better on certain in certain ways, and ultimately there's still a lot of things that they could be doing to help us that they're not. But we got some questions in, so I'll throw some of those up, and then maybe if we could shoot through these quick, and then I think we could probably finish up and not take up too long. We're at almost at an hour, so we've been going pretty good so far. Taffy asked right here, what do you believe would be one of the best things you could do to fix the housing costs in California? This is obviously something that bothers a lot of residents. I've spoken with some people and it's really bothered. I've spoken with some older people and it's really bothered them. They've said, my kids grew up in a town that they can't afford to live in anymore. They can't afford to live in their home. And this is something that I've dealt with as well. I don't make a ton of money and it's at the point to where I would have to be working. I work full time. I work more than full time actually, and I still wouldn't make enough to live on my own. And it would take a considerable amount of roommates or a particular like financial situation or just luck to be able to even to live, and that's something that is hard for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So I guess we got to think about it in terms of like we got to think about it in terms like a supply and demand. So supply, cut regulation for builders. Look at revising some of the green codes that have gone in for housing. Not necessarily saying that we strike them, but we take a hard look at them and why is this here? You know, and really look at the building codes, look at the permitting process. One of the guys I talked with at Stanford yesterday is actually going for civil engineering, and he was saying that the permitting process is a nightmare in California, and so cutting back on regulation when it comes to building, um, obviously common sense regulation, but nothing that would hinder the speed of a project. So increase supply, also with the deportations, that will free up some housing. So decreasing demand for housing, deportations. It's uncomfortable, but it's just what has to happen. Um, and yeah, immigration restriction, and you do that, then also there's also another uncomfortable step, which might even require like it might even require like some more aggressive action, which is cutting subsidies in California. Some of the subsidy for certain housing is up to 70%. And so, what does that do for normal people that maybe don't want to live in subsidized housing? Raises their costs, what, 50% or so? So really taking a hard look at the subsidies. Are they needed? And maybe maybe encouraging people to seek like temporary uh, like sh- like sh- like shelter, or look at some temporary housing options as the market adjusts when we cut these subsidies. Because I don't want anyone to be unhoused, especially people that are working hard, have families, all that. I really do care about people's well-being, but at the same time, if we want to decrease the housing costs, we do need to get out some of these artificial price hikes, which are caused by subsidies. So increase supply through deregulating the building process, decrease demand by quotation and immigration restriction, and then also decrease price by carefully cutting and reducing subsidies. you know and that will bring the price down on people that don't want to live in subsidized housing. They don't want to have 6 or 7 people in their house or whatever. They want to be able to afford a home, not an apartment. I feel like it's going to be able to accommodate all that. There's going to be some uncomfortable steps, um, but I think if you take those three approaches, that'll really you'll see some actual progress, real progress.
Yeah, for sure. I think that all of those sound great to me. I think that you know, supply and demand's pretty easy. They teach it to you in high school, but it seems like the government often doesn't doesn't think in that simple and that straightforward.
Yeah. Well, and
Here's Go ahead. Sorry.
the last thing I was going to say is that decreasing the price of housing is not great for the firm owners. Um, it's terrible, or will the keeping the price of housing high is terrible for the people, but it's good for the asset owners, and all that. So it's going to be financially unpopular, but people are it's what has to happen for the people. It has
Yeah,
to
for
happen.
sure. Well, I think one thing that a lot of people may or may not realize is that it doesn't do you much good to have your house explode in price when every other house you could sell it to go buy is equally exploded in price.
Yeah,
I know people who within a decade their house is 50, 60, 70% as valuable, which if you're going to keep the equity in there, then that's good for you. But if you ever want to move, you're not able to move up doing that. When every single house explodes by 50% in price, then all the houses just cost the same and now you're just paying more taxes when you buy a new house.
yeah. And one thing I wanted to say too is, because I get asked this question a lot, is like fire prevention. And yeah, really taking like a absolutely never again approach. making it so it's not even possible, as far as like establishing the firefighting drone network, doing the forest management, basic common sense forest management, drone network, all that. And I mean, I do want to create like a thermal map of the state of California using all these satellites, all this imagery that we have in the sky, you know, do create a thermal imaging map of the state of California with those quick dispatch drones. There's drones that can easily fly 200 miles, So you're
Hmm.
telling me that that uh, in a state that's 800 miles long, that we can't put a drone network together of drones that fly 200 miles and able to dispense this fire retardant,
Hmm.
within minutes. Like, you tell me we can't put this together? Like, we definitely can. It's just going to take like an investment, and we have some great helicopter manufacturers here in California. Drone helicopter manufacturers, especially in Santa Cruz. There's a couple companies out there, and also there's also an initiative from Washington too to increase domestic drone production. To not outsource it to China, because there's like national security risk. So I want us to develop drones in the U.S. I want us, to build them in California, creating jobs, opportunity, all that, and then, like I said, not having any homes burned down. That's completely unacceptable.
Yeah, that's excellent. Based on the way the person phrased this, I'm not going to put it up on the screen, but as far as your plan for the LGBT issues, especially within schools, whether or not you have a plan to kind of address that. Obviously, a lot of it is kind of specific issues being brought up, but there is definitely a general um, there's a general feeling being pushed by certain people within schools that a lot of people, especially Christians, feel uncomfortable with. Maybe if you'd be able to address that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I want to be like, I want to be seen as a return to normalcy, you know, and really let people know that whether you're a lesbian or you're gay or you're bi, you're trans, that's not normal, you know. Not that it should be. Not that I will ban it. I think that if there are any, if anything is rolled back, and this goes for abortion and for LGBT like rights or privileges. If anything happens legally like that, it's going to come through ballot measure through the voters. I'm not personally going to attempt to restrict, defund, or take away any of that, because ultimately I'm responsible to the people of California. I'm supposed to be the voice of Californians and the voice of normalcy. So I'm not going to advocate for it. I'm not going to celebrate it. I'm just going to say that that I'm not going to like legislate against it, and I'm not going to support it in the schools either, because like I said, when it comes to education, what I say, 30 minutes ago, it's about jobs, and it's about forming a unique Californian identity, you know, and so any kind of woke ideology don't fit in that. You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I agree.
Get jobs. They're not going to help them um, form this necessary Californian identity. It's just going to create division. And my mission is unity. You know, so I'm not going to support things that are going to create division, confusion. I'm not going to support it. It's about a return to normalcy.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's really excellent. Yeah, someone said down here, people should not advertise their deviancies, especially in taxpayer funded schools. And I think that one thing is that, um, I think that people have kind of forgotten what the goal of having a school is for. And like you're saying, if your goal, if elected, is to push for jobs, there's no advantage to getting people jobs by focusing on those things.
Yeah,
Hmm?
I said by loosening their morality. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
you need to be more and more. You need to be more moral. You need to be more disciplined. You know, I mean, I want people to come out almost as like a samurai. You know, Like I want that level of focus and discipline and dedication to your craft. Like I
Hmm.
want people to come out focused. I mean, I want people to have fun too, but be disciplined.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think a fun one to finish off with would be people are claiming that if you want the Spanish speaking vote, that you're going to have to take a stand either for hot Cheetos or Takis. And they're curious what your preference is.
Yeah. Well, I know that yeah. Uh, I'm just gonna. I guess I gotta go hot Cheetos on that one.
All right, that's fair
I,
enough.
I respect the Taki community, but of the Mexican ethnics that I know, they are still Team Hot Cheeto uh, as well. Although I would probably actually go Team Chicharrones.
There you go. All right.
I'd probably be Chicharrones Chicharrones over Hot Cheetos.
There you go.
Jorge
Uh,
said taste. Jorge
yeah.
said
Yeah. Jorge's our resident Mexican, and he said that that's based. He also earlier had said that you have he said that your Spanish is definitely he said it was pretty good. He said he could understand you pretty well. Jorge's he's one of my real life friends. He's a real Mexican.
yeah.
um
I think that's like I was saying, like to my pitch to the GOP in a couple of weeks, is this is a real problem that you guys struggle with. Because I mean they struggle to put a Spanish speaker forward. Um, and yeah, it's because there's kind of a divide between the religious conservatives of the South, especially in San Diego, and the racial conservatives in the north, like Reading, you know. And so, like for example, I think his name is Brian Dahlhe. He's the one that ran against Gavin Newsom in 2022. He came from that Reading community up there. He didn't run on a religious platform. He honestly didn't even get any funding from the CAGOP, if you can believe it. They didn't even believe he could win. They didn't even believe that they could win. They're saving all their money for this next one. So it's like, so it's like, I'm gonna mention that too. I'm gonna be like, look, I'm not Brian Dahlhe, okay? You know, um, yeah. I mean, I do speak Spanish. I do connect really well with voters. I am going to take a hard stance. I do care about the environment. For example, like Brian Dahlhe's biggest donors in 2022 were forestry. You know, um, so how could I pitch that if I was Brian Dahlhe? I'd be like, I care about the environment. Like to my forestry donors, the forest is no good if they burn down. Burnt trees don't sell for as much as like a live tree that you cut down. So it's like,
mhm.
and think about the disastrous fires. I mean, I know that I am friendly with Gavin Newsom in some, but like also too, like the fires in Sonoma and LA are completely unacceptable. You know, the vineyards that burnt down and the trust degraded in California's vineyards I mean, that could have cost billions of dollars, of both land damage, restoration, and trust. And of LA, I mean, it's unspeakable. I mean, that is a disaster that should be in the hit. I mean, the LA fires of 2025 should be in the California history book, and it should be studied. It should never be repeated. I mean, it's that level of disastrous. I mean, we cannot sweep these LA fires under the rug. I mean, they're attempting to do a quick cleanup right now, but we seriously cannot forget the people that lost their homes, the tens of thousands that burned down, the people that are living in hotels right now. Some are probably even homeless too. We absolutely cannot forget what happened, and we cannot allow it to happen again. Period. Full stop. No excuses.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely think that's important. So before we leave, I'm gonna pull up. I have your website pulled up right here, so I'm gonna show everyone, show them where they can find you, and then, sorry, one second. Let me pull this up really quick. So here is your website. One of the things I really wanted to focus on, I know that all your stuff is tied to the California First Pack as well, and so if you come down here, we have your tickets right here. You have these, which I think is excellent. I was telling some of my friends about this. Let me click on it so they can see it, especially for the Catholics. You have your merchandise here, which is this one sticker, and then I think that you had, yeah, the shirt as well. So for anyone who's wanting to look and directly support you, this is obviously a really good way that they can get something. And you've actually done something that few people can do and made things that actually look nice. And so if anyone wants to, spend their money on something that is actually worthwhile, that's a great looking sticker. Put
Yeah.
it on a water bottle, put it on a computer.
Yeah, and especially like on the T-shirt, which like mine's in the mail. My name's not on there. There's no like Kyle Langford, Governor Langford 2026, because when it comes to the T-shirt, like there are issues and causes that are more important than me. You know, the praying the Rosary and creating a Christian California that's united, through Jesus Christ. That's way more important than me. You know, so that's why I created a shirt like that, because it's about trying to promote something, or be a part of something that's bigger than me, bigger than the campaign and all that, and looks nice when you're walking around, and people will ask you, "What's that? What does it mean? What does it represent?"
Hmm.
And even though there's no words, it's very clear what it represents.
Yeah, for sure. And then for everyone, we have, yeah, Chris says W sticker. Taffy says that was nice. For everyone, his website is governorlangford.com. And then his X account, where he's pretty active on there, is Kyle Langford CA. So for anyone who wants to see that, and then you have your link tree with your connections to everything else on your X account, I believe.
Yeah, well,
Um,
I have my I put the website up, but if you just scroll to the bottom of the website, there's also the other links there too for my LinkedIn, and then I'm also on Apple Music and Spotify too.
Excellent. All right. Well, there you go. There it is for everyone. I hope you guys had a good time getting to meet and hear from Kyle. This is the first video interview he's done. He's done one or two audio ones before this, so he's still really getting started. When I first messaged him a few days ago, a lot of the stuff that he's now put up wasn't even there yet. So he's been making progress really, really quickly. I know he's been moving pretty aggressively. So I don't expect anything except for more progress. And so I'm really excited to continue to monitor you and talk to you. Maybe as everything gets more developed, we can kind of talk a little bit more as, you continue down the path.
And another
If
thing,
you want to leave everyone with anything, feel free, and then I'll end it.
yeah. Well, the last thing I was going to say is that yeah, this is bigger than me. This is about. I feel like I want the Kyle Langford campaign to represent a chance for California to heal spiritually, because I mean, if you look at like in part of the reason, like I said, like people might try to copy me or such, but I'm really like running on like a spiritual platform, because I feel like that's where the root of a lot of our problems come from, and if we can fix that, then we'll fix a lot of problems as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Let me end the stream real quick. Thank you everyone for watching. Have a great rest of your night. I'll see you guys next week. Next week will be a Wednesday night stream with Rob from Avoiding Babylon. We're going to be talking about if the United States were to balkanize, what countries we think it's going to split into. So everyone feel free to check out that stream next week, Wednesday instead of the usual Thursday. I might drop you a Thursday stream too. We'll just have to see. Everyone have a great rest of your night. Bye-bye.